Incheon, South Korea, March 29th, 2017. It was a quiet weekday afternoon like any other. An 8-year-old girl was walking home from school, routine, uneventful, until everything changed. She never made it back. That same day, a teenage girl she had never met waited nearby, with a chilling plan already in motion. No one could have predicted what would happen just blocks away from the school. The victim was a second-grade elementary school student. She was known to be cheerful, well-mannered, and loved by her classmates. The perpetrator, a 17-year-old girl who had recently dropped out of high school and was living alone in an apartment near the school. There was no relationship between the two. They had never spoken before. The teenager had no personal motive. She chose her victim at random. On that afternoon, in a nearby park, the teenager approached the child and offered to let her borrow a phone. The little girl followed her without suspicion. After all, she seemed like just another older student. Within minutes, they entered the apartment building. A brief chance encounter, and yet it would lead to one of the most horrifying cases in recent South Korean history. How could something like this happen, in broad daylight, so close to home? Inside her home, the teenager strangled the child using a tablet charging cable. The act was silent, calculated. There were no screams, no signs of struggle that neighbors reported. But what came next shocked even the most experienced investigators. The teenager mutilated the child's body using a kitchen knife. There was no explanation, no justification, only the aftermath. She disposed of parts of the remains in a food waste bin, something that might have easily gone unnoticed. Other body parts were hidden inside a rooftop water tank, a place no one would think to look. Then, disturbingly, she returned to her daily routine. She played on her phone. She ate a meal. It was as though nothing had happened. The crime was premeditated, brutal, and shockingly emotionless. When the girl didn't come home, her parents grew alarmed. They contacted police, and soon a search began in the neighborhood. Time was ticking. Surveillance footage from the building's elevator showed the victim and the suspect entering together. That video would become the turning point in the investigation. Police searched the building and discovered the child's remains. By midnight, the 17-year-old was arrested. She confessed, but claimed she couldn't remember the details. Officers described her behavior as flat, emotionless, and disturbingly calm. But the horror didn't stop there. Investigators learned that the teen had placed some of the remains into a black plastic bag and handed them to someone else. The person she gave them to was an 18-year-old girl she had met online through Twitter. They had chatted frequently, bonding over shared interests in horror and death. The second girl later claimed she didn't believe the remains were real, but instead of calling the police, she kept silent until it was far too late. She was arrested and charged as an accomplice. In court, the prosecution argued that the 17-year-old had acted with full awareness of her actions. Her behavior, they said, showed clear signs of planning and intent. The court agreed. She was sentenced to 20 years in prison. In addition, she would be placed under electronic monitoring for 30 years after her release. Her online friend, the one who received the remains, was initially sentenced to life imprisonment. That sentence was later reduced to 13 years after appeal. The case drew national attention, not only because of the gruesomeness, but because of the cold, detached demeanor both girls displayed in court. As the verdicts were read, neither showed any visible emotion. No tears, no regret. Public outrage reignited a fierce debate about Korea's juvenile justice system. Could the current laws truly reflect the severity of crimes committed by minors? Over 200,000 people signed a petition demanding harsher punishment for underage offenders. The number climbed rapidly. In just a matter of days, the victim's family continues to grieve. They say there is no such thing as closure, not when the crime was so senseless and so brutal. Someday, the main suspect will walk free, What do you think? Should minors face the same punishment as adults? Should the system show mercy or make an example of them? And what does justice truly mean when the victim can no longer speak?